I'd like to talk a little bit about this Hallicrafters S-120 receiver. It was built in 1961. I bought it on eBay because it brings back fond memories of my first shortwave radio, which was a Hallicrafters S-107. That receiver started my whole life journey into ham radio and electronics, and thus my career. And the receiver I had was identical to this one, the only difference being the cabinet was rounded. This one's angular. So I thought I'd talk about what I look for in this radio in terms of restoration. Okay, I'm going to start with the cabinet. Hang on. Whoops. Hang on. I think the first thing that I assess a radio in terms of restoration is starting with the cabinet. Visual things. How much paint work will be needed? What's the condition of the paint? What's the condition of the metal? Is it rusted? I got lucky in this one. There's no deep scratches or imperfections. All in all, it's a very nice looking cabinet. But I'm also looking at things like, especially the dial. Many are plastic, as this one is. How badly scratched is it? You know, if it's a really old radio, are any of the letters missing? I look at the knobs. Believe it or not, a knob can be dang hard to get your hands on if one of them's really ugly or the wrong one or missing. Again, I got lucky. The metal inserts aren't all scratched up or anything. They look beautiful. The dial is in perfect condition. The knobs look near perfect. I need to move this cabinet in. I was in for a few surprises with this radio, and you'll see what they are in a minute. This piece, I've had it off. Like I said, I've already started doing quite a bit of work on this radio, and I figured I better take this opportunity to show you what it looks like before I go any farther. Look at the volume control area. You see a little scuffing on that metal from the skirt of the knob, but what don't you see? Fingernail scratches in an arc from the constant fingernail work. You know, same thing for the band spread area and the tuning area. You know, knob scuffing, yeah. But a little bit of marring in the metal. But all in all, man, that thing is in very nice condition. And now then, well, hang on. When I took that off, look what I found. This is the type of thing you run into. Look at all that rust. That was a surprise after seeing how beautiful this radio is. Look at the backside of that metal panel. It's aluminum, but it's corroding. It's oxidizing. It needs to be taken care of. That rust needs to be removed. There were other rude surprises, but before I show you that, let me show you the rear panel. Again, I got lucky. The rear panel is in perfect condition. Just perfect condition. I don't know what used to mount in these things. Looks like it almost a telescopic whip would, but who knows? The rear panel, beautiful. And the chassis, very nice. No rust at all. I'm lighting challenged, sorry. No rust at all and no cadmium plating. You run into that in older radio chassis. A cadmium plating, it looks white. You don't want to mess with it, man. It's dangerous. Um, but the chassis is beautiful in this radio. I like to take a look at the point-to-point wiring and get an idea of how many capacitors I'll have to replace, because I don't like the term, but they call them that, all of the Black Beauty caps, all the molded ones in plastic, all the wax and paper caps, all got to go. And although it doesn't have any bearing on the restoration of the radio, I just like to get an idea of how much work I'll be looking at and just take a general look underneath. Have there been any mice living in there, chewing up all the wiring and urinating all over everything so it'll rust? Seen it many times. One moment. And at some point, I need to start doing some measuring of parts. I've already done that, thus this video. I measure things like audio output transformers. Is the primary and secondary, are they both good? Again, not so much an issue in this 1961 radio, but when you start talking about pre-World War II radios, the copper in transformers gets brittle and hard, and the repeated thermal cycling makes it crack. They go bad. I like to measure the pots and switches. I operate the switches. Do they move? These slide switches are notorious for getting it difficult or impossible to move unless you use your fingernail way down low on the switch right next to the panel. Look at that pot. It's a long shaft pot with a switch on the back. It uses a flatted knob, meaning the knob's got a flat on it. It doesn't have a grub screw, a set screw. It doesn't have splines. It's got a D-shaped shaft end. If that pot were bad, what are the odds you're going to get one, that you're going to find one for it? You're not buying a new one. It has to have the same length shaft. It has to have a D-shaped flat on the end. It has to have a switch. It has to be the right value. That's a lot of has-tos. You know? This pot here, similarly, same conditions apply with the exception that it's a normal short shaft. But again, what if they're bad? Will that have any bearing on the restoration ability of this radio? Will that have any bearing on whether it's a good candidate for restoration? It just so happens. There's other things too. I look at the rubber grommets that the tuning capacitors mount on. Are they pliable? Are they cracked? These are pliable, but one of them's cracked. They need to be replaced. But they're just usually hardware items, hardware store items. These pots? Hang on. These pots, you may see that it's still disconnected. And I'm not reconnecting anything to it until I get my capacitor order in. No point in reconnecting things now that I'll have to disconnect again in a week or two. Why is it disconnected? No, despite my best attempts at cleaning this thing. Now, it was bad. It was terrible bad. Unusable bad. Electrically. And despite my best attempts at cleaning this thing, nothing helped. Well, it helped a little, but nothing fixed it. Nothing made it work correctly. So I took it out and I literally filled the damn thing with alcohol and shook it and operated it and rotated it, and that helped a lot, but it didn't fix it. I ended up having to take it apart and manually clean the track, the resistive element in it, with some alcohol and a bit of toilet paper held in a pair of Hemos. And it works nice now. Thank God. Thank God. That could have been a deal breaker in this nice ass Hallicrafters receiver. Isn't it funny? It's in such pretty condition. Unbelievably pretty condition. This thing was barely used. But that could have been a deal breaker. Not only in terms of restoring this radio, but in terms of ever using it again. You know? Might have been a candidate for the landfill. Almost was. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about our beloved gear ending up in landfills because of a beautiful comment that I read the other day. Probably the most thoughtful, at times sadly thoughtful comment I've ever read regarding us aging boomer types and our love of radios. Everything I said about the other pot's true of that one too. Had to take it out. I finally got it working. That slide switch was utterly miserable. I'll talk about that in a future video about restoring Heath kits, because Heath kits use a lot of those. This one was miserable, but man, I got it to operate nice. Took me a while, but let me see. One moment. One thing I noted is that this radio uses a selenium rectifier. It'll have to be replaced with a diode and a dropping resistor. So that's what I look for, basically. And guys, it kind of begs a question. What is a restoration? What does it mean to restore a radio? To me, it means to make it look as good as you can, make it look nice if possible, do the best you can. Now the purists, they almost refuse to repaint a cabinet. They'll preserve the original paint almost at any cost. And, I'm not a purist. I'll make the cabinet look as nice as I can and call it a day. To me, restoring means to make function correctly electrically, make it operate like it's new, and make it safer than when it was new, to bring it into electrical compliance in terms of safety. Right? Can you restore a radio to the condition it was in the day it left the factory? No, you can't have that. You can't do that. That's not a radio you can have at any cost. No, doesn't matter how rich you are, almost. Are you willing to open a manufacturing facilities to recreate that capacitor? If you don't, you can't have a radio that's the day it left the factory. You just can't. You want to repaint the cabinet? Great. You don't want to? That's great too. Then you retain some of its character. Yeah, to me, that's what a restoration is. And not only to repair it electrically so that it operates well, but hopefully to do so in a way that will leave it operating for the next 50 years. I hope you're well. I hope you'll try giving an old radio a restoration. My favorite radio restorer on the internet, on YouTube, his name is Buzz 1151, B-U-Z-Z 1151. He's a videographer going back to his teen years when he used to make videos on 8mm. He's amazing. His alter ego is a gnome called Dickel a Flocket. Buzz uses constant sound drops in his videos. The first time I watched one, I revolted, immediately turned it off. And then I gave another of his videos a try. By the third one, I was hooked. His sound drops are the reason I watch his videos. They're amazing. It's true entertainment, man. Buzz 1151 does some kick-ass cabinet work. And he's not a woodworker. He doesn't know any electronics, or didn't. It's not his field. But boy, he learned enough to do some great restoration work. He learned enough to do some troubleshooting, and yeah, man, Buzz 1151. Watch his stuff. Boy, going on 18 minutes now. I've done it again. That pot, look how it's installed. They soldered the tabs to the chassis. Do you have any idea how hard that would be to get out? Oh my God. But thank God I didn't have to. I was able to get that one working with it in the chassis. I was wrong when I said otherwise. I only had to remove that one. Hope you're well. I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye now. Hey guys, I hope you're well. I have had some crazy weather lately. I sat at this bench recording a video 2 days ago, my first ASMR video. And oh man, the storm was raging outside. And then yesterday, oh man, the lightning was apocalyptic. And the rain, I don't know if you can see it. I can't zoom you right now, but the yard had huge puddles. There's a couple of them there, and it was really so wet you couldn't walk out here. It's been awful. But happily, here comes the sun.